My name is Shannon Fraser, and I live in Regina. I'm a lesbian, and I've got multiple chronic health problems, I guess. Well, I have endometriosis, which is when the cells on the inside of your uterus start growing on other organs and cause like real nasty damage and pain. Adhesive disease, where you get like random scar tissue like growth that can tie down organs and bind them together. And from both of those, I've got neuropathic pain syndrome, which is when the nerves get damaged and then they send funky pain signals to the brain over excessively. And other than that, I've got a kind of semi-undiagnosed bowel disorder where they just don't move. They're pretty much paralyzed. And I'm actually going to be getting surgery for that in, like 2 weeks now?
Yeah.
Where they're going to remove both my colon and bowel and reverse the ileostomy I have.
How long did you have to wait for it?
17 months. They told me it would be 6 months, but it was 17 months, and the whole time they wouldn't even respond to us when we sent letters or phoned, or it was total bullshit, but I'm glad it's happening. Oh, yeah, definitely, especially from the specialist. The entire time I've been waiting, I haven't even spoken to him, like, once, or his office. They just gave us 2 weeks heads up.
So you have to go to Saskatoon.
Yeah.
Right.
Because there's no one who will touch me with a 10-foot pole here, no surgeons.
Why is that?
Because I've already had 4 or 5 major surgeries, and because there's so many different factors and different chronic health issues, there's different problems with the surgeries, so nobody will touch me with a 10-foot pole. They send me to specialists now. That is a lot more common than people think. But not everybody feels it to the pain level where I do, because I've got everything else that's, like I said, over amplified and multiple different things. But endometriosis is actually fairly common, and chronic pain is not what people think you are. Usually we get labeled as pill poppers or over exaggerators, or they get assumed that it's a mental health problem, not a physical problem, or they can't go to ER without getting treated like crap or treated like a drug seeker. And there's just a lot of stigma around it when you don't have a choice but to take a whole bunch of meds. You shouldn't have to be punished for taking meds and having an illness that causes you great pain. Oh yeah, all the time. There's been times in public where I've gotten sick and passed out, and just because of how I look, people don't react like, oh my God, that person is ill and needs assistance and help me up, especially if I've hit myself on the way down. They usually just assume I'm drunk or high and kind of stare at you as they walk by. But there's been people shaming me for getting sick in public, where I've had to throw up into like a garbage can or something like that. There's been a lot of things like that. It changes them completely, because you can't really be spontaneous, and you can't really just go out and do the things that people want to do, like go clubbing or anything really active, play sports, because you can barely move without dying of, pain in one area or another, depending on what you have. It's really hard to hold a relationship, because there's a lot of bullshit that comes along with having illnesses that affects your partner, and it's really, really rough. Friendships are the same way. Eventually people get tired of you not being able to go out, or, having limits, or not being able to do certain things, and you end up on your own more often than not. At first it's like, it's ridiculous. At first it's like soul crushing, but eventually you get used to it, and it still sucks, and you know it's wrong and it shouldn't be that way, but it's like, yeah, I know that I can't keep up it to everyone else, and they're not going to slow down for me, so I better get used to being on my own more often than not. I've kind of grown accepted of it. There's some people who stick around and some people who make sure they're there, all the time, like Shelby, but there's more people that don't really want to stick around and do what needs to be done to keep a friendship going. It changed it a lot too. In my own experience, certain family members decided it was some sort of ruse or exaggeration or lie so that I didn't have to work. So I had access to like a plethora of drugs whenever I wanted. And there's some people, most people in my family have been really, really supportive because they're in the medical field in one profession or not. But some of them definitely not so much. They've had a problem with it ever since I got really sick when I was 10 years old. The mixture, I have to take a whole bunch of different things orally, like by pill. I have to do some stuff through my Hickman, which is a chest port, kind of like an IV line to inject meds into, and patches like my fentanyl patch. And I also have the fentanyl pump, which is the little implanted pump in my stomach that delivers it fentanyl through a tube into my spine 24/7 to try and deal with some of the pain. But on top of that, I've got to take like hydromorphone 7 to 8 times a day, fentanyl patch, methadone, multiple pills to be able to sleep, anxiety meds, antidepressant, pills just so that my bladder contracts properly and I can, actually use the washroom and not have to give myself a catheter. There's a long list. Pills for the nerve pain, pills for just about everything. I've been using medical marijuana since I was 11 or 12 years old for both the pain and the nausea, and it quite honestly works as well, if not better than some of the narcotic pain meds do. It's been a lifesaver. I bake with it, so I can make, my neighbor and I make everything from like muffins to caramels to Rice Krispie squares with wheat in it. I have a liquid suspension, I guess you could call it a tincture, that I take before bed. I vape it. I've got a volcano over there and little oil pipe. I take it a lot of different ways just because I don't like smoking at all. I smoke the least amount. I generally tend to take it other ways. I also have capsules of it that I keep in my freezer that are THC suspended in olive oil. They have multiple different ways of doing it. Basically, wake up if I've gotten to sleep the night before, like 8, roll around, try and get back to sleep because, I feel like shit, take my meds, get a drink, crawl back into bed, try and pass back out, and I do that on and off till at least noon almost every day just because it's so hard to get out of bed. And when I do get out of bed, it's like to get to the bathroom, to throw up, to go take my meds, to get maybe, if I'm lucky, some food and come lie back down and try and get some sleep. And then in the afternoon, unfortunately, because life doesn't stop just because I don't feel good, I have to still go out and do errands or sometimes babysit or drive around different appointments during the day, lots of doctor's appointments that I have to get to. Try and maintain my household because I live on my own in this big place, so. And then at night I either get home after doing the errands, collapse back into bed for a few hours. If I'm lucky, maybe I can go and see a friend or have a friend come over for a couple hours, but most nights, by the time I get home after I'm done my errands, I'm done for the night. I can't move out of bed, and I'll just watch movies or paint or do some sort of art or write or sleep a lot, smoke a lot, and try and sleep as much as I can. But unfortunately, insomnia comes along with everything else. That's about a typical day. It's pretty boring.